this is what happens when you light the fuse. You get violence.
No, but you sound like you are defending.
No, I'm
you
not.
are attacking the event itself.
I would do it another way. I would do it another way. I agree with your point that we shouldn't let these people intimidate us.
You know what else the jihadis don't like? They hate Jews. Well, should we get rid of all Jews?
Well, that's what Ms. Geller, I think, is coming from.
Well, that's the path we're going to go down if we start catering to the jihadis. There's no satisfying them. There's no making them happy. You can't not do things because the jihadis are going to be upset.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. Thanks for tuning in to the Steve Malzberg Show. In just a moment, the great Andy McCarthy will join us to cover two issues, and he wrote about both of them so eloquently. One is this issue, freedom of speech down in Texas related to Islam and free speech in Garland. And another is the situation in Baltimore, where we are finding out every day that there are problems with the charges that the whatever she's called, the special attorney in Baltimore brought against these officers. I mean, outrageous. Even two people who have the same names as the officers have been charged, and they're trying to get uncharged, and they're getting death threats and people coming to their homes just because they have the same name. It's a disaster, and reports that the knife that the prosecutor said was legal in Baltimore, which led to charges against two officers of false imprisonment because she said they had no right to arrest the gentleman. Guess what? The cops say, no, in Baltimore, it's illegal. And one of them has gone to court to file a motion to have that knife exposed to the public so everyone can see it. It's falling apart. But joining us now is Andy McCarthy, former federal prosecutor, author of Faithless Execution, Building the Political Case for Obama's Impeachment, and, of course, National Review columnist. Andy, great to talk to you, sir. Let's start with the little flare-up between Megyn Kelly and Bill O'Reilly. And you wrote a great piece about this whole thing, Islam and free speech in Garland. I just can't see blaming the people who held the event.
No, Steve, when you do that, you're really justifying the fact or avoiding the fact that this is ideology driven. I mean, there's nothing that's more obnoxious to Catholics and Christians than Jose Serrano's "Piss Christ," right? I don't think anybody would blame Serrano if some crazed Catholic decided to do something violent on account of it. And of course that didn't happen, because if it had happened, there would have been universal condemnation that he was violating not only society's laws, but also the tenets of his faith. So, you have this problem in Islam, and it has to do with things that are in the literal scriptures that are commands to violence. And this is codified in Islamic law. And the real unfortunate thing about this is every time this tension between Islam and free speech comes up, it always seems to be in the context of some wild, insulting rhetoric or cartoons and the like. And, a lot of people in common sense, and I think Bill O'Reilly it falls in this category, says, how much would we lose if you weren't able to do something that was really insulting to people, including non-jihadists who are going to be, feel insulted, a lot of them, by, degrading depictions of the Prophet. And what we miss when that's the level or the place at which we begin this debate is there's a pervasive objection in Sharia law to free speech. And what they're trying to criminalize or make illegal is not just insulting depictions of the Prophet, it's any critical examination of Islam whatsoever, no matter how respectfully done, how tastefully done, and the like. And that's the real threat to free speech.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Megyn hit on it. She used Jews. I heard Greta. Greta actually gave an example that they had every right to hold the event, but they had no right to put cops' lives in jeopardy because they knew that there might be some violent reaction and cops would be in jeopardy. That to me is as warped a logic as I've ever heard. And I asked the question, what if next they say, hey, guess what? If Fox and CNN and MSNBC all don't fire every woman because they don't believe women should be out there, if they don't get rid of every woman host or female host on those networks, each one of those networks will be a target. Well, would Greta quit so as not to put a policeman's life in danger? I just didn't understand that at all.
How about the Iraq War? You know, maybe we shouldn't allow protests of the Iraq War because the police providing security could get injured.
Yeah, that's a bizarre. I never heard that. Yeah.
What other free speech, political speech in the United States are we going to prescribe on a daffy argument that you know, the police that we pay for are endangered? The police take the job to be endangered.
Yeah, I didn't get that at all. All right, let's move on to Baltimore. I want you to hear something. Here's 99.
I'm now hearing some people are saying that while having a knife, which Freddie Gray did, it may be legal under Maryland state law. Apparently, it could be a violation of the Baltimore City Code. Now, if that is true, then some of the charges brought against 2 of the officers of false imprisonment could be incorrect. And so I'm a little concerned now with looking at the case and some of the things I'm hearing.
All right, and you wrote a piece about this too. Beware Baltimore's no justice, no peace prosecutor. And I got to tell you, Andy, that's Sunny Hostin, who has banned me from her Twitter account, okay? And she is actually saying this. And they started this conversation with, as I mentioned, 2 people who have the same names as police officers who are officially received notices that they've been charged. Their addresses are out there. They're getting people coming to their door. They're getting death threats, and they can't even reach this prosecutor to correct the situation. This was as of last night. And now we find out about the knife. We're having all kinds of people saying, hey, she didn't have the medical report, she didn't have the toxicology report, she couldn't possibly have read the police report, yet she came up with these charges, and the knife, which she specifically said was legal, leading to 2 charges of false imprisonment against 2 cops. These cops are now saying, no, this is illegal in Baltimore. How could she be so incompetent?
Yeah, well, I think because, Steve, all you needed to do was listen to her speech. I mean, she's really not conducting herself like a prosecutor. She's conducting herself like a grievance industry activist. So she didn't say, you know, I carefully, meticulously went through the facts, compared the evidence that I had to the law, and decided to bring charges, which is what prosecutors do. She said, I heard the calls across the United States for no justice, no peace, and here's your indictment. Here's what you were asking for. And what I try to point out in what I wrote about this is that's not only the wrong thing to do for a prosecutor, it's the dumb thing to do. It's how cases get lost, because if you give the defense lawyers a script for the jury to explain to the jury that the case was brought not on the basis of evidence, under circumstances, by the way, where the judge is going to tell them that they have to decide the case on evidence, but on the basis of this, you know, social justice, grievance industry agenda, that's how you lose cases. And this could be one of those cases where, you know, these police officers, some of them at least, may have done something wrong that's worth prosecuting. I don't think it's worth prosecuting murder. In fact, I think that's a gross overreach. But, you know, clearly something happened here. And the way that you lose cases that you should win is by overcharging them and by suggesting that you brought the case for reasons other than the reason that prosecutors are supposed to bring cases, which is compelling evidence.
Yeah, and don't forget, she said, it's your time to the young people. It's your time, it's our time. Turns out, as I found out after that, that was her campaign slogan, it's our time. So she actually reached back to her campaign slogan. And Dershowitz told me that, you know, just her saying that, it's our time, your time, our time, is probably enough for a change of venue.
Yeah, well, you know, look, I think Professor Dershowitz, a lot of the things he said about this made a lot of sense to me. And I must say, you know, a prosecutor is not a politician. I mean,
right.
Sometimes
right.
you have to enter politics to get the gig, but you know, when it gets down to cases, it's about evidence.
Absolutely, and hopefully she'll learn that in this case. All right, Andy, always great to talk to you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Good to talk to you.
You too. Ben Stein is next, folks. We'll get his take on all of this stuff. Don't go away.